And we are live. So thank you. Thank you all for being here today. I am so excited about this conversation. I am Tiara Banks, and I am a certified mother-daughter coach through Mother-Daughter Coaching International under the teaching of Rashki Hazeldine, whom you'll hear from in just a second. And we just want to, greet all who will be joining this conversation. We have a juicy conversation, and we hope that it just provides some insight that it'll help whomever is viewing this, professionals, mothers and daughters alike. And now I'll just pass it along. So Rashki, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Tiara. So welcome whoever's on us live or watches the recording. We're going to be talking about, as you say, Tiara, a very juicy, very, very necessary topic, narcissistic mums. So we have a slightly different take on this one. But just so you know who I am, I'm Rashki Hazeldine. I'm founder director of Mother-Daughter Coaching International, where we train therapists and coaches on how to work with mothers and daughters, and if they choose to, become a certified mother-daughter coach. I'm the author of 2 books, The Silent Female Scream and The Mother-Daughter Puzzle. Yeah, I think that's probably enough for me. Bibi, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Bibi Jameson, founder of Restore to Love. I am also, like the rest of you, a certified mother-daughter coach, and I specialize in relationship coaching.
Thank you. Brittany?
Hello, everyone. I'm Brittany Scott. I am the founder of Unshattered Counseling Services, and I have the program Reconnection Rescue for mothers and daughters to heal. I am also a certified mother-daughter coach, and happy to be a part of this conversation.
Awesome. Well, ladies, why don't we just hop right in? Rashka, why don't you explain a little bit like why we even decided to discuss narcissistic moms today?
We decided to because, well, particularly I've seen it over the last 10 years, but particularly currently, there is a real, very sharp increase in daughters labeling their mother as narcissistic. And that label, narcissistic mum, being used and overused. And often, I'm currently writing a blog for Medium, which will come out soon, where, in a sense, it's being used to justify daughters being estranged from their mom. And so if you really listen to the incidences, there can't be that many genuinely narcissistic mothers out there. So something's going on and something's going wrong, because it is being used to shame and blame, and it's not really bringing any real understanding of the dynamics of what's going on, why a mother maybe can't hear or can't see the daughter for her own person, a real genuine understanding of what narcissism actually is, and how a mum might become like that, exhibit these behaviors, and then what to do with that, how a daughter actually navigates that, because it is painful. It's painful for both.
Yes.
So yeah, we're here to provide a more in-depth, more thought out understanding of this topic.
Yes. So I appreciate you for even wanting to do this, because we all have seen how trendy the word is. And I know just before we went live, we were all just kind of sharing, a little bit of our own perspectives about the topic and why it's important that we, talk about this on live here. So Bibi, if you could lead us, what are your thoughts about the term narcissistic mom, and how do you see it being harmful or in the reconciliation process in our work?
I think definitely there are some narcissistic moms out there, people out there, but personally for me, I tend to stay away from labels, right? I can also understand why so many people are using it, because I think even in traditional training to be a therapy, there's not that much information on attachment disruption between mothers and daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have a lot of daughters and moms that are in pain in their relationships and they don't have a word for it. So give them a buzzword. Everyone's going to jump on it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's still not giving us the reason why that disruption has occurred in the first place, you know? So definitely, I mean, it shows that there's a lot of moms and daughters that are not connecting, you know? So I think that's why it's such a buzzword. And it also shows that there's just not, I don't think there's enough training around it for us to understand it. So we're going to jump on the way it's always been done traditionally, which is it's the same thing they do with attachment theory to blame the mother,
Mm-hmm.
right? She didn't do this, she didn't do that. So let's blame her. And that's why I love mother daughter coaching, because we try and understand the world from mother's eyes, you know, and what happened to her, why did this occur? Otherwise, we'll just keep talking about it and then we'll probably end up doing it to our own daughters as well. And the pattern just keeps like going on and on. Yeah, that's my
Yes.
take.
I love how you said, I love how the overarching point that you were making was you realize that mothers and daughters are really seeking solutions. Like, it's not like mothers and daughters are trying to find a label and they're, you know, like that isn't their intention. They're really hurting, they're really in pain, and they, you know, they want some type of explanation that will come and, you know, lend them some relief in their relationship, which is also what I love about mother daughter coaching international, because we know they want help. They want to be helped. They don't want to be left in the dark about this. But like you said, BB, if you give them a label, it's easy, you know, especially with such a term like narcissist, because there's so many identifiers or qualifiers for a narcissist, but all of us, you know, can probably fit into a few of those categories and be labeled as one, you know, if we don't aren't, you know, if we aren't careful. So Brittany, what are your thoughts? What would you like to add to what BB has already said?
Well, first with the label, because I agree with BB, just handing over labels doesn't help everybody, but I also know some labels do help people to finally understand what's happening. But the label narcissistic mom just frustrates me to no end, because why are we attaching that to mom? We don't say that for anything else. We don't say bipolar mom. We don't say depressed mom. Like, narcissistic mom is almost the only one that gets that label. And I wish it would just, she's a narcissist who happens to be a mother. Or we even stop looking at it like that, because we know in our society that the number of people that are actually narcissists and can fit the diagnosis is very small. And so the fact that this many people believe that their mom is a narcissist means we're missing something. Which is why I love this work, because attachment is what we're missing. Something happened, something broke, something else is going on. So then what do we do? And so also, while we're having this discussion, just making sure that we are holding the small subset of daughters who are experiencing a true mother who has narcissism, because that is out there and it's happening, but not at the level that we're seeing. Like, this is just becoming a label used to me, it helps people not have to do any work. If I can attach this label, I don't have to do anything.
Yes. And I'm not responsible.
Yeah. And I don't have to learn after this label. I don't have to learn anything else. And to me, that's not true.
And as we talked about before we came on air, without the danger of that, and as I'm writing, it throws gasoline on an already raging. I love it. I love my sentence there. It throws gasoline on an already raging relational fire. But it really makes the relationship worse. But it also will ensure, because behavior patterns and beliefs and whatever caused mum to have some either true or supposed narcissistic tendencies will be passed on. The silence and the self-neglect and the not knowing of self, which is what makes them narcissists, have no sense of self at all. So something happened. They weren't born like that. Something happened, but without that, an understanding of what happened, the daughter is likely to inherit some of it, and it will just continue.
Mhm.
That's a real problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Can any of you speak to um, with narcissism, like if this is an actual diagnosis? I know many of the authors who write about narcissistic moms, they talk about how irreversible it is. So if a daughter in fact believes that her mom is a narcissist, where does that leave the daughter? Like, is there any hope for that relationship to recover if that's the diagnosis that they're holding on to?
I have thoughts.
Okay, anybody, feel free.
Off you
Yeah,
go.
go ahead.
I think if that is a true diagnosis, it is clinically appropriate, and that this mother does have narcissism, that the daughter's expectations are going to have to change.
Okay.
To expect her mom to change is going to be an uphill battle she will never win and will just exhaust herself. And so she wants a relationship with her mom. She has to change her expectations. She has to learn what kind of boundaries to set. And she has to learn who she wants to be inside of that relationship. Or she has to decide that this isn't safe for me.
Mhm.
But only she can decide which route to take.
Yes.
I think if we're telling her as either the coach or the therapist what route to take, we're already in the wrong.
I agree. Yeah. And I would add too, she also needs to understand her mum, why her mother is the way she is today. Because as I said, she wasn't born like that. Something happened. So, and why she needs to know that is not just as part of her grief about, I haven't got the mum I need, and acceptance of the mum I've got. It's also, this is her history. This is her, as we do the exercise mother-daughter, this is her mother-daughter history. So she will be directly impacted by that history. So she needs to know it. So she can be, as we call, the line of change and claim a different reality for herself, self-knowing, whatever she needs to do.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen cases where, like, once you get the label and you just decide to make that cut, right? I'm going to move on. And it is really like sometimes you do have to do that, right? As Brittany said, you have to decide. And if you want to stay in relationship, you have to decide how powerful you are in that relationship and how that relationship is going to be without idealizing. But what concerns me is when people are pushed to just cut off that relationship without trying to understand it,
Yes.
because if you don't, it's leaving a deep wound in you.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand it, you can't begin to heal. You can't heal what you don't know. So like I really encourage that, like whether you decide to cut off the relationship or stay in relationship in a way that works for you, like really trying to understand that history, and a lot of the time some of them can't get the information they want from their moms, but you can definitely reach out to other people that know her, family, friends, whatever you need to do to understand what mom's emotional reality was, so that it doesn't you don't end up being mom. Because I mean, a lot of us, I can put my hands up, like I become my mom so many times.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's just about being conscious of knowing what happened, and then you can really, really do the work that you need to do. It's so important to know the history.
Yeah. You
Yes.
can't heal what you don't know.
You're absolutely right. We actually have a comment. I like to read it to you, and whomever feels.
Yeah, read it out because
It says, so this is from Nanny J. So thanks for joining us. It says, when you talk about narcissist mothers, are you presuming a diagnosis based on the daughter's story? As a clinician, this would be quite concerning, particularly given the potential for generations long devastating consequences.
Woo, Nanny J.
Yes, right.
I'm not sure when you jumped in, but you are totally in agreement with us, is what it sounds like. in that a lot of times narcissistic moms' diagnoses are only coming from the daughter's story.
Yes.
And that most of the time they're not accurate.
No.
And it's not fair.
Yeah. That's what's happened with, this is why I suddenly became awake to it, not only because of what's happening in social media, which I'm not, but also I was starting to see a very strong theme of mothers coming and saying, my daughter reckons I'm narcissistic, please fix me. And I work with this woman, I think, what? Where is this coming from?
Right.
Many of the cases, happily, the daughter wanted to join, which then, later joined, which then enabled me to hear both sides and to actually dig it below. But yeah, there were too many mothers coming, and actually even daughters also saying, yeah, or I've had a therapist told me, yeah, your mother's a narcissist.
Absolutely.
What I'm seeing, yes, is a massive history of emotional silencing in your family, emotional neglect, mothers not having their own voice, therefore, and fighting over being heard, which is classic mother-daughter dynamics with patriarchy. But true narcissism, not so much.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Nanny J, for that question. And we hopefully that answer, that you heard. And if not, feel free to comment again if you want to ask another question.
But
yeah. Wow.
There
so much
are
can be said.
Yeah. There are even therapists I've seen people on some of the groups that I'm in just talk about. There are therapists who are recommending daughters to go no contact. And I said, I think once if we as a clinician or the coach is recommending what the client should do, we're already in the wrong. You can't tell a daughter to go no contact with her mother.
And that sort of expectation or that sort of suggestion or recommendation is completely against the research. Actually, it is completely counter research, because if you look at Carol Gilligan, Jean Baker Miller, all the Stone Center, as well as college, there is a wealth of research. And what the research we've found, mothers and daughters need each other throughout their lifespan. Women grow better within themselves, within relationship. We are relational beings. I think men are too, but hey, we're talking about women here. So yeah, we are, and we need that mother-daughter relationship for our emotional growth and development throughout our lifespan, which is why this causes so much unnecessary pain and harm. So yeah.
So Nanny J gave us a follow-up comment. She said, woo, thank you. I am deeply chagrined by our culture shift toward the labeling and ostracizing of normal or imperfect parents. The word narcissist gets banter about the way bipolar has been, with zero understanding of the actual diagnosis. Relationships are complex, made up of fallible humans. So yes, Nanny J, we are in agreement with you. You're amongst great company here.
Yeah.
Something else I was thinking about, when you were saying like therapists who recommended they just like cut contact and everything, it's like, yes, we do need to be in relationship, but again, like the traditional theories, this mother figure is so idealized, right? It is so idealized. I know for one, as a mother, I cannot do it on my own, right? So it's also really important here to focus on communities, right? So that we can stop idealizing moms and let them be imperfect and let them be human, right? I think everything that we expect a mother to be it's a huge feat. Everything we expect from women, it's like it's just too much,
I agree. Yeah.
And I think that without all those expectations, we're actually given more room to just be the type of mom we want to be without these impossibly high standards that are put on us in communities that are not providing us what we need to parent properly. So like, just if you're listening to this and you do have like issues with your mom, I don't even want to use the word narcissist. Just remember that there are other places you can get your needs met while you work on that relationship with your mom. It's not all on her. If she can't do it, someone else can, and really, really get that help that you need. Don't just break off that connection. There's other, you can stretch it out a bit more.
Yeah.
Bibi, I love what you're saying, because for many, of us women, when you are hyper focused on what your mom is unable to give, you do miss those, parenting opportunities from those supplemental moms that are sent along your journey. Like, you can't recognize that help. You're not receptive to it when it arrives because you're so focused on getting it from this one source, and which is a false idea. Like, no human, no one person could parent another completely on their own. So I love that you've highlighted that point. For daughters, like, if you do take time to work on this and heal from this relationship, you will be able to receive from other women or other people who are sent along your path. You won't miss anything. And you can still, have a relationship with your mother based on the capacity of the two of you.
Yes.
As people, as
As
women,
people.
as mothers,
Yeah.
like we talk about in the mother-daughter attachment model, what mothers are people first. I think what we're talking about here is actually at the core of this, because I think our concept of, and I think this is a society-wide thing, and I think it's a therapy issue, that we need to really look at the patriarchal definition of motherhood that we have swallowed whole as a society. But also, if you look at many of the theories that we're taught as therapists, this whole, it really at the core of it is this selfless, self-giving, non-person, a person that doesn't have a life of her own, motherhood. And I think, quite frankly, I think a lot of roads lead from this. That as a society and as a therapy and coaching world, professions, we need to rethink how we perceive motherhood. As the person who's the only person that can do all the caregiving, really. And her lack of agency as a person in her own right.
Yes. Which is at the pinnacle of the offering of our training. This is why it's so important for us to, for other therapists and clinicians, coaches, to take this training, because the information you're teaching us, Rashka, is not offered elsewhere. So there's only so, we're not here to blame anyone, but in the books you're reading and the theories, you are standing by and enforcing within the practices, if they are, if they have holes in them, or if they are inaccurate or not, it doesn't fully represent this relationship, then these are the only solutions you'll be able to offer your clients. And here we are, MDCI is basically offering an alternative to that. Like, so we're offering, you don't have to walk away with so many labels. You can, teach your clients how to see their mother with soft eyes, understand them as a human being first. You can give these real life solutions so that they can have a relationship with one another. Like, cutting off does not have to always be the answer.
And if it is, MDCI will also just give the tools to help that daughter to heal.
Yeah.
Because what's missing is they're deciding in therapy, while talking about all the negative things about their mom, that they have to end the relationship because it's no longer healthy. And then they move on without really talking about the grief of what cutting off a mother-daughter relationship even entails. And they walk away without even knowing the history of what they have to heal.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, we can't be naive and say we want for no one to ever have to cut off a relationship. That's naive, sometimes it happens. But then what are you healing? And I think that is the gap that a lot of therapists are missing. And it was part of what I was missing, which is why, I took the course and why I decided to do this, because there's so much about women's relationships that school does not teach us.
No.
It just doesn't. There's a huge gap in that. and this fills it in.
Yeah.
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 And I feel too, well, you know, I was trained many years ago, but I think things haven't changed dramatically in terms of, you know, a lot of the theories are based on seeing women through male theorists' eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them guys are white and dead. And so I think it's time to say they saw women from their generation. John Bowlby, for example, attachment theory. I mean, he is very accurate, yet the treatment of mom is based on his 1940s upper class England life.
Mm-hmm.
Post Second World War, that's the generation my mother, you know, go back home, take care of your family, all that scientific motherhood, you know. And that then becomes infused as if it's fact, rather than actually, no, it's a social construct, a patriarchal construct even. And it's time to rethink, particularly how mothers are seen, which will have a knock-on effect on how daughters are seen, because, you know, I know this is slightly off topic, but, you know, if mum's needs are not met, then who does it? Who does it land on? Usually the daughter, the daughter. So it will have a positive impact on daughters if we rethink how we see motherhood and what's expected of mothers.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
I want to know how you guys respond.
Go ahead.
So I've talked with a few people, and they have brought this up. What does a daughter-in-law do when she struggles in the relationship with her mother-in-law and is viewing it through the lens of narcissistic mother-in-law? What does that daughter do who that's not her direct mother?
Exactly.
Then, you know, I'm curious y'all's thoughts. What does that look like, and how does that daughter manage that relationship?
Bibi, do you want to go in first, or
well, does the daughter's partner know that does he agree? That's the first thing I'd want to know.
Yeah.
Right. So she can decide how she wants to, just the same way you would with your mom. Do you know what I mean? You're still someone in relationship with this person. So you decide, you have to have boundaries, and it would be great if your partner is with you on those boundaries. You have to have a safe space to talk about it. This is how, you know, I feel when your mom does this. You just have to talk about it, and place boundaries, because, you know, she's only as powerful as you allow her to be in your marriage. You can be aware of it, and once you're aware of it, you come up with solutions as much as you can to just safeguard that relationship, you know, and maybe even have one that you can enjoy because, like, you've put boundaries there. But you really have to have a voice when it comes to that with your partner, and together both of you can just sort it out, you know.
Yeah.
If it's a problem, then I'm not sure if it's a mother-in-law, daughter-in-law thing. I think it's a problem in the romantic relationship, because whether or not she is narcissistic, it shouldn't be coming into their relationship that much. They should be able to handle it. They need to get the tools to handle any type of interference like that.
Yeah.
Can I ask a follow? Oh, go ahead, Rashka. I wanted to ask a follow-up question. I'll wait.
I agree, actually, because in a sense, the partner then, in a sense, needs to protect his spouse, his or her spouse. If it's his or her, if it's his, saying it's a male spouse, if it's his mother. The other thing that I'm thinking of is, so if this mother-in-law's got a narcissistic label on it, then there is some behavior of this mother-in-law not being able to see other people for who they are, listen, all that, in a sense, it gives the daughter-in-law massive amount of information about how women are treated within the family.
Mm.
And her spouse, say if it's a male spouse, he really needs to understand this, because what's happened to his mother that has led her to be like this, and not be able to relate to her daughter-in-law as a fellow woman, as as an equal. What's happening culturally too? What is the cultural expectation of women, and how women, and the sexism and how women are treated, especially mothers, and often you can see that I would say the neglect of women, the selflessness of women. So there is a massive amount to unpack here. That I think, yes, Bibi, you're right, that the partner needs to be massively involved with, because that's the family he's come from.
Yeah. That was actually going to be the question I was going to, the follow-up question I was going to ask Rashka. So you answered that. And Nanny J, she left another comment. She said the daughter-in-law and the mother-in-law dynamic can be a complicated relationship, especially depending on the mother-son relationship and depending on cultural norms. We don't all marry people from the same cultural perspective, even if we grew up in the same country. Some mother-son relationships are more impactful than others. The jealousy that can arise is natural and has many layers. Thank you for today. What a joy to finally be able to listen in. She says she needs to run. Any chance?
She makes a good point here about jealousy. You see, I think that's another topic. I won't go boots and all into that, because that's another topic that is massively misunderstood here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that regardless of whatever the culture is of how women are treated, I am hoping that I think the woman needs to have a voice. The woman in this relationship needs to have a voice, and hopefully has worked on herself enough to be able to communicate whatever it is, whether they accept it or they don't, how they want to accept it, how they want to bring it in together. Because that's what a lot of our mothers didn't have. They didn't have that voice, and they didn't have that choice. They can decide to go along with the culture of how things have always been, or to make it slightly different. But she just has to have a voice.
Yes.
Now, Bibi, for clarity, are you speaking about the daughter-in-law in this situation, the mother-in-law, or just women in general?
The daughter-in-law.
Okay.
And women in general, yeah. You have to have a voice, like what kind of marriage you want, what kind of relationship you want with your in-laws, how much involvement or non-involvement do you want, how much power do you want,
Yes. Is it fair to say that the amount of impact that mother's interaction have on the daughter can be indicative of how much the daughter needs to heal? Or the daughter-in-law, like, could the mother be impacting her at a greater rate because of the healing that she needs to do in her own life? Or are the two isolated?
Oh, that's a big question. I think in terms of the healing that the daughter-in-law needs to do, I can't really speak for anyone, but I just think that however you want to show up in this relationship that is going to hopefully one day nurture your own daughter, you have to have a voice. And yes, it's going to impact you, even if you've done your work. Transitioning into a new family is going to impact you. But there's two important things. It's how you and your partner choose to get through it together, and your own level of self-awareness and self-development. Because, I could walk into a home and think this is completely normal, the way mother-in-law is, and you could walk into it and think that's not on. So it's your own personal level of tolerance, of awareness of what's going on, but just no matter what it is, make sure that you have a voice.
Yes. Yeah. With your partner. And actually, I believe that the partner also needs to make space for his spouse in his family, because the in-law, really isn't, depending on the family, isn't often given the space. So it's actually her partner that needs to provide the space so that she can have an influence on and have a voice and have space within this new family. Yeah.
I mean, that's an area where we're usually just like, as women, left alone.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's women's problems. You sort it out. So when the partner's not like speaking up for the woman, and it's not, is you know, if it was me, it's not because I can't speak up for myself, but it's better if it comes from you.
Yes.
You know. But there's also that narrative, like, daughters and mothers-in-law just aren't going to get on anyway. You know, so even from like wedding planning and everything, you're already, the narrative is already set up to pitch you against each other, right? And the men, this is gross generalization, but usually just, again, blame the wife or the partner, the woman. They blame the woman, and they leave us to try and sort it out on our own, you know. And so obviously mother-in-law is going to act up because I'm coming to talk to her, and I'm going to act up because you're not my mom. Why are you coming to, you know? But we've just been set up to fail from the start most of the time.
Entirely.
You know? So it's really having a voice. And let me include that when I say having a voice, I mean your relationship having a voice. Both of you decide, you know, that this is how we want to be. We are creating this generational change. How are we going to communicate this to the people in our lives, that the changes we're making now it's going to impact them because they've always related to us in a certain way.
Which touches on how powerful actually the mother-daughter relationship also is. Because if a romantic spousal relationship is more powerful than, say, the individual in terms of creating, so is a mother-daughter relationship, and actually a mother-in-law relationship. And there's no reason why you can't go for couples therapy with daughters-in-law and mothers-in-law. So in a sense, that's why this work is so important, because it facilitates, it empowers women to have a voice. It empowers women to understand themselves, understand each other without all these labels, to know what it's like to be female in a patriarchal world, a world where there's violence, there's racism, there's patriarchy, there's economic inequalities, there's all of that. What's the impact of that on us as women and on our relationship?
Yes.
Yeah. We've been nearly talking for 40 minutes.
I know, that went
so good.
And we can talk for 40 more minutes.
Easily.
We can be here for hours.
So before we wrap up, I would just want to, in a minute, I'll put in link to Medium, where I'm going to put a series of blogs on why I think there is a spike in estrangement between mothers and daughters at the moment, because I didn't see that 15 years ago. In the last 10 years, something has definitely happened. And I think, as one of the things we talk about, the mother-daughter relationship is the canary in the coal mine. So this trend that's happening is screaming to be understood, and it's a warning. Something is not right for women, but I think we need to also look at the therapy, what we're taught, what we're not taught, how women are seen within our therapy, within our theories. So yes, Thierry, you've just put our website up, and I'll put on the Medium
link. And while Rashka puts that link in there, ladies, if you could sum up our conversation, if you wanted to leave our guests with any parting words, and you can talk to either a mother and daughter, in search of reconciliation, or a professional woman who works with women, like, what would be your advice to them from this conversation?
I think for me, I would say be more curious.
I like that.
Right? Just be more curious. Don't just go by the label. And I know that for some of you, you're really, really hurting in these relationships, but be more curious. Everybody has a story. Find out her story. It's your story. And it's the same thing to therapists as well. Be more curious. Challenge what you know already and just be more curious.
Yeah. And to pick up on that, because I think be more curious sums up everything we just talked about beautifully. I would say that if you're using the label and it feels good for you, know that that's not the end of the story. There is more beyond that label that you need to figure out and understand and learn if any healing is going to happen. You won't heal from just using the label. You have to keep going. There's more underneath that.
Yeah. And I would add if you're a daughter, there's help. There's if you go to motherdaughtercoach.com, there's the Find a Coach page. There is where all the graduates of our program are listed. So yeah, and I have a lot of people are online, so you don't need to go to where you are, the country that you're in. Go look around and find somebody who you feel fits with you. And if you're a therapist and coach, I would recommend I would encourage you to, again, have a look at Mother Daughter Coach and look at our training, because it will really help you understand your female clients so much more. You may want to specialize in mothers and daughters, and many of our graduates do, but not all of them. But I think if you're working with women, the mother-daughter relationship is always in the room, whether we're talking about it or not. So this training will really give you the theory, the tools, and also help you understand your own mother-daughter relationship as well. There's always that very nice side benefit.
Which is the greatest benefit that, then helps you help so many others, like when you're going from there. Rashka, also, I'd like to highlight, I know you already told if a mother or daughter, they can look on the website for Find a Coach page, but you also have offerings for courses for mothers and daughters that they can take, self-paced courses. So if you could speak to that a little bit, please.
Yes, I've got a few short online courses for mothers and daughters. They're $49, so they're very cheap. That will also give you some information, and we'll start. Each of them have videos. They have a worksheet that you can complete. You can do it with your mum if she's willing and able, or just do it for yourself, whether you're a mum or daughter. And after all, mums are daughters. So because we're all looking at generationally, it's a good starting place, actually.
Thank you. And what about you, Bibi? Do you mind? Can you give our viewers your website? How can you be reached?
Yes.
It's restoretolove.co.uk or Restore to Love on Instagram. And I am also on the MDCI page if you're looking for some mother-daughter work. I just wanted to add a quick bonus to what you were saying about the training for therapists and coaches. Because this training is very curious and thinks outside the box, and really tries to understand patriarchy, the impacts of patriarchy and culture and race and everything that impacts a woman's experience as a mother, it will also help you as a businesswoman in therapy, because that patriarchal way of teaching us therapy just teaches us to serve everyone. And this course really gives you a voice as a professional, right? And helps you, like, just if you've got feminist vibes and you're a therapist and you're a coach, definitely just come and do the training.
Yeah,
that's an added bonus.
I completely agree with you, because I've hit my head against the patriarchal thinking within the profession myself. I'm thinking, yeah.
Thank you for that, Bibi. Brittany, how can you be reached?
To add one more to what Bibi said,
Sure.
not just it, what you'll learn. So having your own voice too, and then the mother-daughter relationship, but the mother-daughter relationship affects every relationship that we have. So even if you're not working from the mother-daughter lens as a therapist or coach, but you're working with women, their marriage, their friendships, their co-working relationships, all of that is affected by and through the lens of their mother. And so, I mean, if you're working with women and you want to understand women, this is an amazing starting point. I am on Instagram at the Brittany Scott, and my website is reconnectionrescue.com.
Right. Can you type that in, Tiara?
Yes, but I was gonna try to type Bibis also. What would you like me to type your link to Instagram or?
Yeah, you can do that. Restore to Love.
Okay.
Restore to Love at Instagram.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we'll do Brittany's.
Thank you.
And Bibi, you're listed under the UK?
Yes, I'm listed under the UK and Nigeria.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
And Brittany, you're listed under the US.
The US.
So if you need to find either Brittany or Bibi.
Oh, I didn't put. Okay, let's see.
This has been. I just love this. I come away, enthused actually after these conversations, because to me they're rich and they get to the core of, in a sense, what we're about. Absolutely. But also they're like you say, empowering us to think outside the box and think differently about what's been seen as the norm.
I agree, and I think I'm the only coach on the call today. Like all of you are
put yours as well in. So we've got you've got.
Did I put the correct Instagram? Did I spell it correctly? Mm-hmm. I forgot to put on Instagram though.
Yeah, Bibis Restore to Love and the Brittany Scott.
Okay.
And put yours in as well, Tiara.
Okay.
And Tiara's in the US.
Yes.
That's the other. I just discovered the chat now. I can see. Yeah, you got it right.
Okay.
I'm laughing. I'm exactly the same. That's the other thing that I really love about our community. We're all over the place.
We are.
Yeah.
I mean,
the mothers and daughter relationships are all over the place. They're everywhere.
They're all over the place. Yes, we're all around, and classes are usually from people in the UK, Europe, America. Yeah.
Yes. This has been awesome. So refreshing. Thank you so much for joining the conversation today, ladies. Thank you for all that you do for MDCI. Rosh, as always, thank you for spearheading this movement and paving the way for all of us. Teaching us all of what you know and just allowing us, a piece of your pie. We love it here.
Well, thank you. And you guys are my people. I love you each, and I am so grateful that you found me. And we're doing this together.
Yes.
So let's.
All righty. So we're going to conclude. Any last thoughts, or are we saying goodbye to our viewers?
Goodbye.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Bye.